Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Micah Rearden, and I'll be your coach this evening. There has been a lot of things going on in the news recently, and we're going to be touching base on all of that. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to do all those things that videos like. And without further ado, let's get into the world news and the news that's happening in your local neighborhood, maybe. Going straight into it, the Washington Post, they have a few articles we're going to be talking about, and it's going to be primarily three things we're going to be talking about today. One is going to be about the U.S. economy. The second thing is going to be about what we talked about, but it's going to be just in addition, going to be about COVID, the mandates, the vaccines. And then the last thing, the big news, is going to be the Kyle Rittenhouse jury verdict. Talking about the economy first. So early on in the week, the stock market was not doing too well. And it was because the House approved a $2 trillion spending bill. And people were not very excited because now inflation is going to go up. If you go to your grocery store, if you look at the price, you're going to see that the prices for things have went up by $1 or $2. And it might not seem like a big deal that if something goes up $1, $2, it's only $1 or $2, right? You might give $1 to a panhandler you see on the side of the road, and you might not fathom what is $1 going to do to you. Well, this is just the beginning, right? How long is the inflation going to be this high? And we have to ask ourselves, if it's going to be a month, yeah, $1 is not going to matter. But if it's going to be 5 years, like they're predicting, that's a lot of money. Because if every item you buy is $2 more and you buy, let's say 30 items every time you go shopping, that's $60 extra. Now, we're not going to get into the compound interest of if you invested that $60, where would it be in 5 years? Because it's going to be a lot more than $60. This inflation is going to keep people down, keep people in their respective class, maybe. But there's going to be people, of course, who find ways to get out of it, find ways to elevate rather than allow themselves to succumb to what the US dollar represents. I'm a mindset coach. I'm not a news reporter. I'm not an anchor. And I want to talk to you about the news, but I always want to spin it in the sense of your mindset, because we need to understand how our mind is going to operate after the fact this has happened. Because if we simply say, well, there was a bill that passed, oh, well, nothing I can do about it. Let's see how is it going to affect us long term. So the possible outcomes for this is that we are powerless. The government is able to pass whatever bill they want. They can pass a bill for frivolous spending for things we don't need at the cost of American citizen taxpayers like yourself having to pay more for material goods, having to pay more to feed your family, to take care of your daily duties, whether going to work, grocery shopping, etc. Many things go on. And now you're burdened with a new type of stress. Are you going to be able to sustain the life you have and the life that you want? Because mindset is more than just, how am I going to think about it? Well, what is going to happen to? Cause and effect. Because yeah, we might have money in the bank. We might have a good income, but that's not everyone in the world. There's people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and that $60 can mean a lot to them. And we have to pay attention to what is the possible outcome. So someone loses $60 every week, maybe more, right? Maybe they buy more than 30 items, or maybe they go shopping multiple times in a week. What is going to be the outcome? Well, if they're not able to buy the goods, how are they going to procure the goods? And yes, we can have good Samaritans come in, or there can be organizations or government organizations that are going to help people who are having a hard time. But what happens if you're not eligible? What happens if there's nothing in your area? Crime starts to go up. Now fear is starting to go up. Now a nice neighborhood that you had is no longer a nice neighborhood. Middle class people are no longer considered middle class because they're not able to sustain the life that they have. Because inflation has grown so rapidly, but your income has not. So inflation outgrew your income growth, which is not a good thing. Now, if it was maybe 1 or 2%, maybe not that big of a deal, right? But 4%, I mean, now we're talking numbers that can be life-changing long term, because we're in this for the long haul. We're not in this for a moment or two. So now we have people who are not able to afford the life that they want to live. So maybe they go to a life of crime. Maybe they're more negative. They're more negative. Maybe they're pessimistic. What type of personality is that going to develop in that person? They're going to be bitter. They're going to be bitter and they're going to rebel. This is a recipe for disaster, because now people are starting to get fed up, because you might be able to mess with someone's livelihood, but some people don't like for you to mess with their money. And this is what's happening. Yeah, if you make under $400,000, you did not have to pay a cent more in taxes. But guess what? Inflation said you're paying more, whether you like it or not. The dollar is weaker. Federal government's not going to come in. They do come in, or they lower interest rates, something is going to crash. And we could talk about the housing market too later, but something is not going to work out, where there's going to be some tough times coming. And we have to prepare ourselves for those tough times. And it's not a fear-based thing. I'm not trying to scare you and saying, hey, you need to get ready. You need to buy freeze-dried food and store water. No. This is not that type of podcast. This is just forbearing what could possibly happen, because we already see it happening in society. It's just that people are not paying attention. So going on to the next aspect, the next big piece of news, COVID boosters. So the CDC just came out and they said, now we make it very simple for anyone who wants the booster. Everyone can get the booster. So if you're an adult, you can get a booster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Just come in, get the booster. I believe Joe Biden, he just put out that he wants to produce 1 billion doses of more vaccine for every year. And that's going to be good for the politicians who bought stock in Moderna and Pfizer. You know, they're going to keep getting rich and inflation won't affect them. But for the people who didn't buy Moderna and Pfizer before it was high, oh well. Because the people who are at top, most of them don't care about who's on the bottom. And that's the sad reality that we're living in. And what happens is the people on the bottom can't reach the people on the top. So they quarrel with the people on the bottom. They argue and they yell and they belittle each other because they are fighting for the scraps that are thrown down to them from the people on the top. And it's interesting that people allow themselves to continue to live life that way. Why they don't want to live abundantly, to go after more in their life. They simply stay complacent, compliant. And I'm not here to say that if you follow every word the government says, you're a bad person. That's not my judgment. I'm just here to give you a mindset perspective on everything. We have an economy that's on the brink of collapse. We have government officials getting rich off the vaccine. And then we have a court case that might shake communities across the nation. Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all his charges. What is that going to do to people? Especially the Black community. For some reason, the Black community is very upset about Kyle getting off. Because if it was a Black man, people are saying, he would just be put in jail. He's guilty. He killed 2 men, put him in the jail cell, see you later. But now people are saying, but since he's white and he has money, maybe it's okay. He can kill as many people as he wants. That way of thinking is dangerous. That way of thinking is not conducive to a society that's going to be able to come together when they need to come together. Because right now we're in a modern day segregation where people are fighting over gender, they're fighting over race, they're fighting over who does what in their life, opinion, whether it be religion or if you have a vaccine or not. We're in a modern day segregation. And I'm not going to preach on prejudice and all of that. Yeah, I have experience with that. But that's not for me to simply say, well, my experience is going to be your experience, or you should have pity on me because I went through this. I don't have a victim type mentality. My mindset is going to be iron tough. You do a lot of things to me. I'm going to be fine at the end of the day. But it takes a certain type of person to get through that mindset. So going on from Washington Post, we're going to rewind everything. I just want to show you what is happening in the world. CNN reports that, of course, more Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. CDC is going to be doing the boosters for adults. And then they're talking about Biden went and got a physical finally. And if you read the article, a cover up. It's not that serious. He just has some moderate to severe arthritis. That's why he's walking, et cetera, et cetera. Basically cover up, because there's been a lot of things happening in the news, whether he's falling asleep. This is addressed to Biden. He's falling asleep. There was a reported incident where he wasn't able to use the restroom in time, or just simply not knowing where he is, right? Like an Alzheimer's type of illness. And heading over to Fox, that's going to be more Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, if you look at this article, they're saying that there's going to be violence springing up, similar to the George Floyd. I'm in Austin, and the George Floyd riots were here too. And I actually went down to them, not to protest with the people, but to pay attention to what was happening. What I saw was a mixed mash of people, not about race, personality, mindset. We had people arguing with each other, people who were supposed to be standing for the same cause, arguing, bickering with each other. Then you had people who were being supportive, passing out water, snacks, making sure that everyone was okay, taken care of. They even passed out protective eyewear because the police were shooting rubber bullets. There was tear gas, pepper spray, stuff like that. For the people who were down there bickering and arguing, it's not that they are that type of person. Maybe they are. But what I can tell, because I can typically read a person pretty decently, is that they have a lot of emotion inside of them, and they don't know how to deal with that pent-up emotion. And a good portion of society doesn't know how to do that, because the school systems, unless you're in special education, is not going to teach you how to deal with your emotions. Yes, you might have some kindergartner teachers show you your emotions and positive emotions, and these are the emotions you should be feeling. And it's okay to feel sad sometimes, or if you're upset, to go to an adult. Yeah, but that doesn't help when a child, a young mind, has something that they can't share with someone because it's embarrassing, or they're afraid of what someone's going to think about them. We're not open anymore. We're closed books, because if we appear weak, if we show weakness, we're mocked, we're bullied. In the school system, that is. As adults, people can say whatever they want, and you might say, I don't care. But it's different for children, because peer pressure is going to be one of the greatest factors a young mind is going to have to deal with, especially when they start developing in their teen years. So now we're bracing for violence, because there has been a jury verdict that Kyle is not guilty. So people are going to take up their pitchforks and their Molotovs, and they're going to go to town. Mob mentality. They're going to loot, they're going to burn. To what? For what? For nothing. People are looking for an outlet. People are fed up. They're at the breaking point. And no matter what comes out in the news, they're going to find a way to spin it, whether it be a BLM thing or it be just a general government thing. People are going to say, we don't like this, we like this, and then go about it a certain way. And most of these articles that we're going to be reading today are going to be driving for a focus. But then we also have to pay attention to what is not said. So ABC News is also talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. They're talking about some stuff with Trump. And they have a little video of some golden retrievers happy to play in snow. ABC, they always have a little something in the corner, I noticed. A little something positive, which I like. But it doesn't mean I'm going to say, oh, ABC is the news I'm going to trust for the rest of my life. And then New York Times, the same thing. Rittenhouse, the House bill passing. And then we have some violence here. So I came over to Infowars.com to see some of the news there because they do have an outside look on news and what's going on in the world. So the two stories that I want to talk about are going to be the possibility of Kamala Harris coming into the seat of president and Joseph Biden stepping down. What does that do? What does that mean? Well, it's going to mean, number one, feminists are going to be, okay, we got the first woman president making progress, right? That's going to be a positive thing for them. Then we're going to have people who don't like Camilla saying, oh, this is terrible, and et cetera, et cetera. There's going to be people, of course, threatening, belittling, all that stuff. So a lot of negativity. We have some positivity, but I think the negative is going to outweigh the positive in this scenario. But when we look at the president, when we look at the vice president, they're actually not that powerful. They can sign some executive orders. They can go on TV whenever they want and make a presidential announcement. They have that power. They have that ability. But it doesn't mean what they say is going to be put into play, right? We have the House. We have laws, local government. Though they're able to pass things that might not be conducive to the nation as a whole, we have to understand that is corrupt politics at that point. So what can we do about corrupt politics? What can we do about people who are making money handed fists while the little man is looking up to them, give me something, please? And they're like, well, we're good. They play a false facade. We do this for the people. We do this for the people. We do this for you. And I understand that not every politician is bad. I believe there are going to be some good politicians out there who want to see people succeed, who want to see people do well. But for the most case, politicians are going to be, how can I make this beneficial for me, right? And Biden and Camilla or Harris, they're just in the place of getting the tomatoes thrown at them. It's not their fault. It's a system. And I talked about the system, whether it be the school system or the government system. There's a lot of cons, some pros, but there's cons that need to be addressed. And then the last thing I want to talk about is this video here of some racism. And the video is going to be displaying a young African American woman beating up an Asian woman, probably college age. And it was, I think, for the Asian was probably talking to the boyfriend or something like that, some drama. But the act of violence was there. It was present, right? Of course, if the young Black woman is found, she's probably going to be charged with assault for that incident. Now, what's going to be the verdict? I'm not sure. But there is going to be an underlying talk that needs to be happen. And that's going to be, why are we attacking people for no reason? Why are we being violent? The main reason that is because of news, especially toward Asians. The whole coronavirus, and China did this and China did that. So now if we see an Asian, you're to blame mindset. I perceive you as a threat. And the fact that I see you as a threat, I'm going to defeat you. I'm going to make your life hell. But it's not fair to people who have nothing to do with it. Yes, lives are going to be changed forever, and they're going to keep on changing. But we have to get beyond fighting and bickering with our brothers and our sisters. And that's going to be everyone around us. So if you're lower middle class, people around you, your brothers and your sisters, everyone should be working together to lift up to the next level. So now that if you're a lower class, now you're middle class. If you're middle class, let's get up to the upper class. But the system is not created to get you out of your class. The system is created to keep you in your class, and eventually you are going to fall down yourself naturally. So think of it this way. I'm a big gym buff. I like going to the gym. I like working out. And one of my favorite exercises is going to be doing pull-ups. I can do quite a bit of pull-ups. But this is not to brag. How long can you stay on a pull-up bar? Can you stay on the pull-up bar for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And the same thing is true with how long can you stay in the middle class? How long can you stay in the upper class? How long will you stay in the lower class? In the lower class, it's like rock bottom. Or if you want to think lower class and hit poverty, you could do that too. People who are in the middle class are hanging on the pull-up bar. And eventually, they're going to get fatigued. Eventually, they're going to get tired. They're going to say, oh, this is pretty tough. I don't think I can hold on to the pull-up bar anymore. And they're going to start slipping. And they're going to fall eventually. And when they try to get back up, their arms are jello. And now they can't even stay into the middle class because they need to take a break. They take a break before they know it. Middle class has changed, and now they are in the lower middle class. And then it happens, now they're in the lower class, and it keeps going down. And they keep going down. But when a slow change happens, you don't notice the change happening. Similar to how if you put a frog in boiling water, it jumps right out. Something's wrong, it says. But if you put the frog in regular water, just room temperature water, and you start boiling it and the water starts raising in temperature, the frog doesn't realize anything is happening. It's acclimating to the water. But eventually the frog dies. It's boiled alive. That's what's happening in our society and our government. We were in the pot of water and they turned it up on us. And they say, well, fire's on, but you're not going to notice the change because we're going to make it so whatever we give you, whatever happens, it was just the next step. When they start skipping steps, we start saying, hey, that doesn't make sense. But then they cover it up and people go, well, okay, we believe you. Sorry, we didn't have faith in you. And I had a workshop, I believe last week or the week before, about leadership. Not everyone's going to be a leader. It's easier to be a follower than a leader for sure. So now we have a world of followers. But when you have a follower with no leader, what do you think happens? What type of mindset do they have? They are going to operate on their peers. And that doesn't mean that the peers are our leaders. It just means they're operating on emotion or feeling. So if someone in the peer group is upset, someone in the peer group is going to be dealing with some emotional stress and they let it out, guess what happens? It becomes a chain effect. Now everyone is dealing with that said emotion. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but most of the time it's going to be a negative thing. People need to look up and aspire to be something. It's a mindset thing. Think of people who are wildly successful and they have these grand goals and they finally reach these goals and they have an abundance of cash and big houses, fast cars. But when they get there, they're not happy. Depression actually sets in. They're actually depressed. And they have 3 Ferraris in the garage and a fridge of Pellegrino and steaks in the fridge. They don't need money because they have everything. But they're still depressed. They might seek alcohol, drugs to start to feel better. There's something that happened along the way that made them realize it's not about the money, it's not about the goal, but the journey. So let's talk about the journeys. And the journey we have to pay attention to is, where are we going to be next? And I talk to many people about this. And I always ask, what do you want in your life? And they always say, well, I want to win the lotto. I want this much money. I want this car. I want this house. I want this Louis Vuitton bag or these types of clothes. People know what they want. But when I ask them what they don't want, it's literally just the opposite. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to have to work. I don't want to walk to work. Things like that. There's no deep desire for the things they don't allow in their life. They simply understand what they want, but not what they won't allow in their life. If they don't do that, guess what's going to be happening? They're going to keep allowing things to happen to them, whether it be the vaccine mandates, number one. If you don't get the vaccine, you're going to lose your job. Okay, well, I guess I have to get the vaccine. I don't want to lose my job. What if they said, I don't want the government to tell me what I can and can't do? This is not about laws. This is about constitutional rights. Okay, freedom. And we're not going to get into the whole, oh, you love freedom type of conversation. That's not this podcast. This is just a mindset type of thing. So we have people on both spectrums. People who say that they need freedom because it's their constitutional right, and that the vaccine is going to be unconstitutional and it is going to get in the way of their freedom, right? Their freedom to travel, their freedom to work where they want to work. It's a medical type of discrimination. Then you have people who are saying you just need to get the vaccine and then everything will be back to normal, or just listen to the government or the scientists, they know best. We can do that. When you allow someone to control your life, especially someone who doesn't have the best interest for you, that becomes sketchy. Because just because they say, we want you to be safe if you are immune compromised, or we don't want you to get the COVID because there's a 99.7 chance you're going to survive, but there's a 0.3 chance that you might not. And that's scary for people, because that 0.3 is so scary. And now, this is the worst thing that has happened to me. Good thing I got the vaccine, or it would be much worse. Well, how would you know? I know both people. I know people who got the vaccine and got sick and they said it sucked. And then I have people who didn't get the vaccine and they say it sucked. And both people are recovering the same amount of time, about 3 to 4 days, and they're fine. They might have a cough, like a recurring cough, something like that, but they're testing negative. So this thing is made more serious than it needs to be. We're having the wool pulled over our eyes, because if inflation goes up, what are the next steps? Now people are going to be operating under a limited mindset. I'm not able to buy as much as I used to. Economy falls. The economy is driven by the people spending. Now, if people don't want to spend because everything's so much money, economy goes down. And it's only a matter of time before the economy goes down to the point where, hey, we're in a recession. And then the housing market. So the housing market is not going to be like a 2008 crash. For the people who are out there, this is going to be a mindset thing. It's not going to be like the 2008 crash where the houses are going to be dirt cheap. It's going to be a pandemic of houses going for sale on the market. So, of course, if you know anything about housing, if there's going to be a surplus of houses, the prices go down. If there's few houses, the prices goes up, higher demand. But when they have a large inventory, the prices have to go down to get rid of the inventory. People don't want houses to sit. They want the houses to make the money, especially banks. They don't make any money if the house is not sold or the house is vacant. They want the house sold. We're going to be dealing with probably the biggest foreclosure rate in world history coming in the next few months or maybe a year. And yeah, you can stack money to try to buy these homes and gain an investment type of portfolio. You can definitely do that. But if the dollar is weak, how much are you going to be able to buy? And yeah, you're going to maybe get some good deals. But the super wealthy, They're waiting. They have the money. They have the capital. And no matter how much some Tide costs them, Tide can cost them $22 and it used to cost $16. They won't care. They'll buy their Tide and they'll carry on with their day, and they're going to buy those houses as soon as they're cheaper. And you know what they're going to do? As soon as the prices go back up, I'm going to sell them. And they make more money. And it's just a circle that keeps on happening. The rich get rich, poor get poor. But it's a mindset thing. It's not planning to fail. It's more of, I need to focus on what's happening around me, because if I can do that, I can see the next plan. I can see what's going to happen next in my life. People are so busy about what happened to them yesterday or what may happen to them, and they're not paying attention to the real things that need their focus. That's their life. That's their advancement. That's their goals for the future. They're worried about the problems. They're worried about staying in fear. They're worried about not being able to live in freedom. People haven't traveled probably for 18, 19 months now because they're afraid of COVID. People are losing jobs because they don't want to get the vaccine. Their livelihoods are changing. Things are changing. The world is changing. Is it changing for the better or is it changing for the worse? And we're going to be talking about that in more detail at another time. What I want to leave you with is there's going to always be something negative going on. The mind is naturally negative. And we have to prime our mindset to look at news, whether it be the Kyle Rittenhouse news, the mandate or the COVID vaccine, or the House passing a $2 trillion bill, housing market, whatever it be. When you look at it, don't look at, oh my God, this is a problem. Say, okay, this is a problem, but what is the solution? We need to start gearing our mindset to be more driven to getting things done rather than living in fear. Because fear is going to destroy many of your dreams. It's going to keep you weighted down. It's going to say, hey, you can't do this. Just stay where you are. Slow your roll. And then when you're done with fear, when fear is done and there's no more COVID, if there ever will be, if there's no more COVID, if there's no more prejudice, or if there's no more people having race-related or cultural differences, and people are just happy again, we're back to normal, then complacency is going to be the number one killer of your dreams. So watch out for fear, watch out for complacency. Both of those things should not be allowed in your life. And if you allow them in your life, they're going to weigh you down and they're going to keep you where you are. And what I want for you is to become better every day, become a little bit better. And it might not be something you notice in the beginning. You might not even know the first steps to doing that. And for that, you can always head over to my website, revenconcepts.com, and we can figure that out together. Because when you're having a moment where you're stuck, the best way to find your way out is to have someone guide you out. That's why therapy is so big right now. That's why coaching is so big right now. People need help. If you have any questions, email me at coachinginsession@gmail.com. And until then, everyone, take care.